You buy the same things you bought a few years ago. The groceries, the gas, the restaurant meal, the rent, but somehow, your money doesn't go nearly as far. Then you hear something that sounds like good news. Inflation is falling. So why doesn't life feel cheaper? Because there's a part of inflation most people never hear about. When prices rise, they don't automatically come back down when inflation slows. And once you understand why, the entire cost of living problem starts to look different. In 2020 and 2021, the global economy was hit by an unusual combination of shocks. Factories slowed down, shipping networks became strained, supply chains struggled. At the same time, consumer spending shifted toward physical goods. When economies reopened, demand came back quickly, but supply could not adjust overnight. The result was simple economics. More demand, chasing limited supply, pushed many prices higher. Then came another shock. Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent major energy and commodity prices higher, adding another layer of pressure to food, transportation, and production costs. But here's the part that matters most. The pandemic disruptions eventually eased, supply chains recovered, commodity prices moved around. Inflation eventually slowed. So why didn't prices simply return to where they started? Because a price increase can become permanent, even when the original reason for it isn't. Imagine a product that used to cost $10. Its costs rise, and the company raises the price to $12. Later, some of those costs fall. The company could lower the price, but it doesn't have to. If customers are still buying at $12, competitors are charging similar prices, and cutting the price would reduce revenue or profit. There may be little pressure to go back to $10. That doesn't mean every company behaves this way. It means prices often don't move downward as easily as they moved upward. And this is why falling inflation can be so confusing. The rate of increase can fall while the price level stays high. The climb slows. The staircase doesn't disappear. But there's another force affecting what happens next. It's not just economics, it's your brain. You rarely judge a price by itself. You compare it with a price you already know. If a coffee used to cost $3 and now costs $5, $5 feels expensive, but put a $7 premium option next to it, and suddenly the $5 option can look more reasonable. The product didn't change, the comparison did. Businesses use many forms of pricing and product design to influence those comparisons. And sometimes, they don't even change the price, they change what's inside the package. A product that once contained 500 grams might later contain 450 grams, while the shelf price stays the same. That's shrinkflation. Research presented at a Federal Trade Commission conference examined thousands of products and found a median package size reduction of about 11% in the products studied, with a median unit price increase of about 9.3% after downsizing. The important point isn't that every company uses shrinkflation. It's that the price printed on the shelf doesn't always tell you the full story. The amount you're getting matters too. And companies don't simply choose prices by adding up their costs. They also have to figure out how customers will react. Raise a price too far, and people may switch brands, buy less, or walk away. Raise it modestly, and demand may barely change. That difference is known as price elasticity. It's one reason pricing is a strategy, not just an accounting exercise. Coca-Cola gives us a real example. In its first quarter 2024 results, the company reported a 22% increase in price and product mix in its Europe, Middle East, and Africa business. Coca-Cola said about 2/3 of that increase came from pricing in markets experiencing intense inflation. In other words, the company was not simply selling more drinks. Pricing itself was helping drive the result. But there's an important limit. Companies can't charge whatever they want. Competition matters. If a product becomes too expensive, customers can switch to something else. But that pressure is much weaker when alternatives are limited. You can stop buying a premium snack. You can switch brands, but you can't easily stop paying rent. You can't simply cancel electricity. And in many places, housing, healthcare, transportation, and other essential services don't offer consumers unlimited alternatives. That's where pricing power becomes much more important. And it brings us to one of the most controversial questions in the entire inflation story. Was corporate greed responsible? The evidence doesn't support one simple answer. Businesses really did face higher costs for energy, materials, transportation, and labor, but businesses also make pricing decisions. Some passed higher costs to customers, some absorbed part of them, and some companies in some markets were able to protect or increase their margins. There's an important distinction here. Higher profits do not automatically prove that companies caused inflation. A company can earn more because its prices went up, but that also doesn't mean business pricing decisions had no effect on what consumers ultimately paid. The reality is less satisfying than blaming one villain. The original shocks mattered, supply mattered, demand mattered, energy mattered, competition mattered, and business pricing mattered too. But there's one more reason the phrase, "everything is expensive," can be misleading. Not everything became expensive in the same way. Some products benefit from technology, productivity, and intense competition. Others depend heavily on scarce land, human labor, energy, or local supply. A computer and an apartment don't follow the same economic rules. A television can benefit from decades of manufacturing improvements. A house still needs land. A haircut still requires someone's time. A restaurant still needs workers, ingredients, rent, and energy. So when people say, "Why is everything so expensive?" they're often talking about something more specific. The things they can't easily avoid have become expensive. And that's why falling inflation doesn't feel like a return to normal. Inflation measures how quickly prices are changing. It doesn't promise that prices will return to the past. A product can go from $10 to $12, and later inflation can fall dramatically. The $12 price can still be there. That's the part most people feel in their everyday lives. The shock that pushed prices higher may be over, but the higher price can remain. So the next time you hear that inflation is falling, remember, it doesn't necessarily mean your old prices are coming back. It may simply mean the new prices are rising more slowly. And perhaps that's the real question we should be asking. Not, why did everything get expensive? But, once a price goes up, what would actually make it come back down? Because sometimes, the most expensive thing isn't the price itself. It's realizing that the price you remember may never return.